Welcome to the Hard Truth Podcast. This is Jeremy Fouts, and today we have a special episode with you with a good friend, JD Denham, out of Orange County, California. He is a fitness instructor, but it goes deeper than that. And the topic today we are going to be talking about is men standing up.
Let's go! What up?
JD and I visited a couple of days ago, and I said, JD, what is passionate on your heart? And he said, Jeremy, the thing that really is on my heart right now is men standing up. So I understand I have a lot of women listening to this podcast, but you might want to feed this to your husband, to the men in your life. And this is something that I am really, really excited about this episode, talking to my good friend, JD. And not only is a sober and fitness instructor, he's a godly man that stands up for his values and his principles. And I promise you're going to get some value out of today's podcast. JD, it's a pleasure to have you coming in from California today. And cannot wait for the audience here on the Hard Truth Podcast to hear your testimony. I know we're going to talk about men standing up, and that's something that's very important. But if you don't mind, before you get started, give us a little bit of background on who you are. I know you've got two small kids. You actually started over with a new life. So that's powerful, man. And I've been, looking at your Instagram page and following you for some time, and your content is just very authentic. I can tell you have a passion to impact in men's life. And give us a little bit of background before we get started here, a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, I would guess the easiest way, the simplest way would be a prodigal son, man. I came out of the womb with both my fingers up and a mohawk, and I just was attracted to the dark side, the easiest way to say it. So I came out of the womb just kind of headed on the wrong path. I grew up in a strong family, a Christian family, but it just wasn't the path that I was walking on. I was definitely the black sheep, and I was told that often by a lot of my family members. Yeah, and I just, like I said, I just for some reason just walked the harder path, and for a long time, sports in high school and then in the beginning of college kept me more in line. I loved sports, and thank God, I was kind of good at them. So that was a blessing. But I played ball my freshman year in college and did great. I was getting looked at by some bigger colleges, San Diego State and stuff like that. But I tore my ACL in the sophomore year of my college, and that was the end of my football career. And what happened, Jeremy, was I just did a swan dive basically into just partying and just I was into punk rock music and played in bands and stuff like that. So I kind of went on to that route after football ended, and lived that sex, drugs, rock and roll lifestyle. At least chased it, and it yielded discontentment. It yielded a lot of negative stuff, a lot of me getting arrested and just going down the wrong path, and which eventually led on to the right path. The way that I explain it is, God knows what He's doing.
Oh, yeah.
The way that He was going to get in contact with my heart was to let me basically walk the hell on earth that it was to get me onto the right path, and I'll tell you a quick little story which led me there. What was the catalyst to my sobriety, which, I was doing heroin and speed. I was into hard drugs, and I was literally touching the line of death. And the night that changed everything, I was up for days because of the speed, and it was 2 a.m, and I was dripping sweat. And I remember I lived in a godless state. I'd fallen so far away from what I was taught, and I was living in a godless state, and it was dark. And this night, I was dripping in sweat, and I remember my heart was kind of going through these heart palpitations, and I remember thinking, actually, this might be it. And I wasn't even scared. I was more kind of like, man, I'm tired, and I was ready to kind of give up. But this God that my parents spoke of popped in my head. And I remember thinking, well, if heaven and hell is real, I'm definitely not going to go to heaven. So I threw up this prayer, and I said, God, if you're real, I'm a mess and I need some help. And I need you to show me that you're real. I ended up falling asleep that night. waking up the next day, buddy came over and my morning dose of self-destruction, like always, and out the door we went. We stopped and to get some liquor. Now this is the very next day. And I was gonna go inside and get some liquor, but I said, "Hey, grab me some vodka. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette." So I was leaning against the car and just kind of in my own world, smoking a cigarette. And I see this older lady kind of coming up to me, kind of timid, and I was trying to figure out. And then finally, I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, are you doing okay? Can I help you?" And she said, "Sweetheart, I don't want you to think I'm crazy or strange, but God put it on my heart to come up to you and to tell you that He loves you and He has a huge plan for you, and you're going to affect a lot of lives." And I was just like, whoa, because I instantly remember what had happened the night before. And the beauty of that story was God showed up, obviously. And what happened was a little flicker of hope got within my heart because I was in a hopeless state. That's where I was at in my life. I didn't get sober that day, Jeremy, but 2 weeks later, on January 18th, 2011, I did. I woke up. I don't know what was different about that day in particular. The way I explain it is I believe all these prayers that my family and friends prayed for me accumulated. And that day, God said, "I'm going to give this guy a shot." And he just changed something within me. And I did. I made huge changes in my life. I was willing to do whatever I needed to do to get sober. And that was just, follow. I went in Alcoholics Anonymous and did all that route. And the beauty of that was I found my own relationship. It wasn't a relationship my parents spoke of. It was mine. It was authentic. It was real. And for the first time, I trusted it. I knew that He showed up, and that's how God spoke to my heart. So now that was 13 years ago, and everything that I have good in my life is due to my sobriety, and equally as important, due to my relationship with God. So I honor that. My channel is heavily structured around that because when you're living a life that's helping other people and trying to, at least, God puts His hand on it.
Yep.
We were not here to serve ourselves. We're here to help other people. My favorite quote is, "Great men help other men succeed."
Yes.
I was taught that 13 years ago by my mentor, my sponsor. And man, it's like the teacher shows up when the student is ready. Mind blown. I took that in and I have embraced it for 13 years. And by doing that, I believe God has blessed my life. I mean, there's tangible things that come along with it for sure. But what's priceless is a peace of mind and a contentment. I call it a pocket of peace. You fall down when you're helping other people, you fall down and you have these moments of this pocket of peace, or another way to say it is bliss. And it's hard to explain it if you've never felt it. It's just pure. Nothing's going to shake you out of that. Now, the world is going to knock you out of it. It does not want you there. Call it the devil,
Right.
call it the world, whatever you want. It doesn't want you there, and it's going to knock you out. So we're always under construction. We are always, supposed to be working on ourselves, improving, and helping other people improve themselves. So as we do that, at least my experience with it, we fall down in that pocket, and I chase it. It's not a constant. It's really not. And because, like I said, the world does not want you there, right?
Right.
It feeds you a bunch of lies, and that's been a hard thing for me. Is I look around at where the world is heading, and I have two young boys.
Right.
I'm fearful for the world they're walking in. I mean, we talk about when I was in my teens and stuff, but I mean, we're talking, years later, 40 years later. I mean, you're talking like radical changes. It does not, it's coming after these kids. It wants their
Right.
soul. You have boys too. It's
Yep.
scary, and so I call on men to stand up and to be men of integrity and to be men of character. And our children, statistics show that our children are going to become what they see. So
Right.
if we are living kind of a sloppy life and not living with discipline and not having a work ethic, our children are going to pick up on that and they're going to become what they see. And I can't allow that. I take my job. My wife is a stay-at-home mom and she nurtures them. My job is to grow them into men,
Right.
strong, godly men of character, because if we don't set our sons in particular up, this world is going to eat them up.
Yep.
And I can't allow it. I just can't.
Yep. Yeah, I know I watched one of your reels recently that you put out, and you talked about that a little bit more in depth. You said basically the importance of raising these boys to become men is that boy is going to become a father. That boy is going to become a dad. That boy is going to become a leader. And can you expand a little bit about maybe what you shared on that, and get in the importance of why it's really, really important? There's so many young boys, and I know this is going to probably upset a lot of people, and I love the fact of the value that a woman brings to nurturing a boy. I mean, there's nothing more powerful than that. Don't get me wrong,
Sure.
but do you agree with me that there's a spot and place in creating a boy into a man that only a man can bring that value to?
Period. I mean, there's just, I mean, again, the father's role is the most important role. That's not diminishing the mother's.
No.
But in my household, we stay biblical. My
Right.
wife does the nurturing, and she stays home, and she's great at that. And my job is to help raise them to be men, because they are going to be men raising men and
Right.
raising their children. And it you see such a void in manly men out there. I mean, look around. It's passive men. Even
Right.
Jesus, he was flipping over tables. He was punk rock, so to speak.
Right.
He was not, you know what I mean? Like, we are, Jordan Peterson says it's the best. He says you need to be dangerous. You just need to contain that dangerous and be dangerous if you have to. This is not an ego when I say this. My wife knows that she will be protected, period. If
Yep.
something happens, stand behind me, because I'll stand in front of a bullet for her. It's just period. That is a man. And it's not toxic masculinity. That's just a big ruse that they're selling people, and people are eating on it and they're biting on it, and it's wrong. Again, I get crap for this when I when I say this on my channel, but I've never seen my dad cry once. My mom passed when I was 20, and I saw him shed a tiny tear when we were picking out her casket, and that's it. And I believe men are warriors. I don't believe men are supposed to cry. Now, if somebody passes, by all means, and that's not knocking crying. It's just saying, like, I just believe we're supposed to be strong and take that energy and put it into the positive. And I get a lot of flack when I say that in particular. And again, back to the fact, like, my household, how we run it is my wife stays home, and I make the money, and I raise my sons in that manner. And even her own family doesn't. They have ridiculed it, and it's caused some issues in their family, because that's how we raise them. And because the society doesn't want that anymore. They
Right.
want the family to be broken up. And so it's time for men like us that are speaking truth, and we're going to take some shots on the chin for it, for speaking truth. And I believe, Jeremy, that God let me walk through the hell on earth to harden me and make me who I am today, to stand up to what's going on out there. Because the drug addiction and conquering all that stuff, and just really kind of like leaning on God, it made me who I am. And it just, not much gets to me, man. I don't have a lot of sensitivity. I'm not worried about that. Like I said, I'll stand in front of all of this stuff if it's going to protect my children, because I'm protecting my grandchildren,
Right.
their grandchildren. You know what I mean? And we have to lead by setting the example. So things that I am trying to pass on to my sons, and they see me, they reading the Bible, being in the Word. I wake up at 4 a.m. every day, and my main thing is I never hit snooze. I made a promise to myself years ago when I was trying to rebuild myself, that I never wanted to be broke again. I wanted to be make a difference in the world, and the way that it starts for me in particular is my daily routine. It is a non-negotiable. I wake up
Right.
at 4 when my alarm goes off. I never hit snooze. Why? The first decision of every day is going to be the right one. I'm not
Right.
going to hit snooze. I'm going to get up and I'm going to make something of myself. I come down here in my office, And I start with a prayer. I read from 5 books, the Bible being one of them. And then, Jeremy, I physically get on my knees and end in a prayer. And the reason I do that is that's how I honor God, man. I don't expect other people to do that. That's my thing, and that has yielded 13 years of sobriety. And on the small occasion that that's missed, I'm off. I call it paying the tab or earning the sunrise. And the reason I say it like that is if we go to a restaurant and don't pay the tab, there's consequences. If I
Right.
don't pay my tab every morning and, as Ephesians says, put on the armor of God, we go out to a dark, dark world. And again, I'm drawn to darkness.
Yeah.
I could be knocked off kilter by some cute girl flirting with me, and if I don't put on that armor of God, I'm susceptible to that, and I can get
Yeah.
attacked, which I will, with your channel. I mean, we do get attacked, like
Yeah.
I'm not attacked by a bag of dope anymore, or a bottle of vodka. I'm too strong for that. I'm attacked by anger,
Yeah.
or I'm attacked by a pretty girl flirting with me. And that's not honoring my bride. So I just don't open those doors, man. I don't put myself on the train tracks anymore.
Yeah, when you talk about protecting your kids, I think I saw this on your channel, but it was an interview from a child molester that I don't remember how many kids he molested, but they asked him, "What do you look for when you're picking a kid to molest?" And he said, "I look at the father.
Yep.
That's the first thing I look at. If the father is no threat,
Mhm.
that's my target."
Yeah. Let's give me chills.
Was that on your page that I saw that?
Yeah, it was good. It's funny you say that because I was thinking about reposting that because it's so good.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, and I bring that to the attention to the audience because one of the thing that makes me really sick to my stomach, JD, is all the population talking about it's almost like no respect for men and they don't understand the man's place.
Sure.
And they talk about, oh, a dad bod is sexy and all this different crap. And it just really pisses me off. And I'm like, no, a dad is supposed to be threatening. A dad
Sure.
is supposed to look at him and say, man, that is a guy that could take me down if I choose to hurt his wife or his kids. I
Period.
mean, how would you expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, we are supposed to be a threat. We are the protectors. We are the foundation for our families to lean on. That's what a man's role is, and the world does not want us there anymore.
No,
They're selling you a big ruse. Oh, it's okay to be out of shape. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I mean, I posted something the other day, and I got heavily knocked on for some people even sending me DMs and stuff about saying that, listen, fellas, your wife can tell you that she loves you if you're not in shape, but I'm going to tell you it's a lie. She
that's
needs
not
to be
true.
attracted to you. She needs to be
Yeah.
attracted to you. You need to continue to work on yourself and better yourself. And it's not even about looks. It is to a degree, but like it's about keeping your
Discipline.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what's sexy? A man that keeps his word to himself. That's the law of attraction. If you start living like bettering yourself every single day, not for anybody but yourself, because you want to be a better version of yourself every single day, I promise you, your wife will find that attractive. So if you're having problems with your wife, become a better man.
Yeah.
Become someone that shows up on time. I'll tell you what's not sexy. It doesn't matter. Let's take the looks out of it and put it right here for a second. Coming home, plopping on the couch, opening a beer, and having like if that's your life, that is not sexy. That's a wife. A woman's not going to find that attractive. Coming home, putting your phone down, playing with your kids, teaching your kids. Like my son's 3, and I'm already lifting weights with him. I mean, they're play rate weights for him, but I'm starting to tune him into the fact of work ethic,
Right.
work ethic. It's about molding our children and preparing them for that.
Yeah.
So, and that's the void. I mean, I go to the park with my son, and I hate saying this, and I'm not above this. I'm not saying that I've never done this, but I'm saying I look around and I see if there is a father there, his phone's in his face.
Yeah.
And so I try to catch that and try to be very cognizant of that and put my phone down. Or another way that I've been doing it, which has worked better, is I don't bring my phone. I
Yeah.
go with my son and I engage with him. When he's playing soccer, I play soccer, and I'm playing with him and engaging in him. And that's where society has radically changed is, everyone's phones in their face. I think that's done on purpose. Nobody, if you go to a restaurant, look around, nobody talks.
Right.
Nobody talks anymore. There's no engagement. And at least in my household, we're really trying to focus on that. And the draw to it's strong, man. I mean, I work on my phone now, and especially on Instagram, that's where I make my money. So it's what I've implemented, Jeremy, that has worked for me, and it's only been the last couple of weeks. But on Sunday, I log out. I don't look at my phone. I don't bring my phone. And I'm going to tell you, like, we go on a walk every Sunday. We have a big canyon behind our house, and my son loves it. And we've done it numerous times, but often I bring my phone and I'm getting DMs, and I got to get back. So now I shut the phone down on Sunday and I enforce the discipline that I've been successful in exercise and in business. Now I enforce the discipline to enforce that on Sundays. I leave my phone and it's liberating. I'm
Yep.
so present. I'm climbing the tree with my son. Um, and that's what we all need to do. I mean, if anybody's watching this, try that because it's worked for
Yep.
me. My favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 27:17. I love it as iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
One man sharpens another. It's tattooed on me. And if you saw around my office, I have it in numerous places because it's so important. Like men like you and I started talking and there was an instant connection because we believe the same thing, man. And if I set something and do something on a positive, then maybe somebody will see that and do another positive, and it compounds on top of each other and all this positive because there's a lot of the negatives compounding on top of each other. So it's time for men, like we said, to stand back up and be men of integrity and lead because our
Yep.
children will become what they see.
Absolutely. And one of the things I've been trying to teach my boys too, for the audience, I think they know I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. We have a little place in our community called the Lagoon. It's a 5 acre. It's got some sand. It's a little swimming community. And I paid attention, or I told my boys, I said, pay attention to how many fit men you see.
Yeah.
And I basically explained it to them like this, and I'd like to have your feedback on this. Is if you can have a fit body, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a sharp mental mindset as well.
Good.
And when you have a sharp mental mindset and you have a fit body, you are beating the competition. I mean, less than 1% of the people out there, has a fit body.
Yeah.
And so I look at it as, man, life is a game. It's the most important game we will ever play. Our salvation, all the different things that go into that. And I look at it as if you're rubbing your belly and bragging about your dad bod, and more than likely you're not going to have a sharp mental mindset. You more than likely your relationships are not going to be good. More than likely your finances are not going to be good.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you see that at the same pace that I see that out
Yeah.
in California, is the lack of discipline and control of getting the most out of your life and being that temple like we're supposed to be?
Everywhere. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I'm a mortgage guy. That's been my career for 22 years. I just started doing this fitness channel 4 months ago. And the reason it started, again, I wasn't even really planning. That's another God thing. I think God just put his hand on it and it pushed me in that direction. Everywhere I looked, I see overweight men. I
Yeah.
see overweight men with their phones in their faces. So what I was trying to do, I wanted to try to like start leading and setting the example. I was just going to start putting some content out, and I wanted to get men over 40 off the couch and just move again.
Right.
And that's where my channel is structured. It's structured to those men in particular. My workouts are HIIT training because they can do it from home. There's a lot of guys that don't want to go to the gym, so I structured it for that. Because I mean, you can't buy a good body. You just
No,
can't.
you have to earn
So
it.
if you walk into a room and you're fit, you're noticed. And it's not about bravado or trying to be macho. It shows that you have discipline, and that
Right.
that yields respect. Um, quick story about the genesis of where that started for me. When I first got sober, I don't know if I was going to stay sober. I was going to a church one night. I was living in a sober living. I'd maybe 2 months sober, and I'd always tried church. I never tried the Alcoholics Anonymous, but I started walking to this church, and it was just going to go the route I've always tried. My buddy in the sober living said, "Hey, come to this meeting with me, man, and just for one night." And I'm like, all right. So I ended up going, and great meeting. And I heard this guy speak, right? Who would become my sponsor. And this man, when he spoke, everybody stopped and they listened. And I noticed it. I was like 2 weeks sober, so I was on shaky ground, and I was like, "Who is this dude?" Right? I'm like, "Whoa!" And I right away, Jeremy, I said, "Whatever that dude has, I want that. Whatever
Yes.
that is, I want that." And I was super attracted to it, and I don't even know what it was. In hindsight, it was integrity and it was character, and he lived how he spoke. So I walked up to him. I'd never had a sponsor before. I didn't even know what that really meant. I knew I was supposed to get one, but walked up to him and I said, "Hey man, that was cool to speak. You be my sponsor." And I felt like such a dweeb. I felt I was asking a girl out. It's just weird. But he said yes, and that man took me under his wing, and he showed me what it took to be a sober man, which is a man of integrity and a man of character. And he spent hours and hours and hours of his time without wanting anything in return except for teaching me how to be a man and a man of character. When I first got sober, I had court cases compound on top of court cases. I was in a lot of trouble with the law. And he said, "You need to go to court." And I said, "Well, why would I go to court? If I go to court, I'm going to go to jail." And he said, "JD, sober men are men of integrity, and men of integrity handle their business. So you're going to go to court like a man, and you're going to face your problems like a man. And if you go to court, you'll go to jail. You'll go to jail like a man, and then you get out and your slate's cleaned." And I was like mind blown, like what, like again, the teacher shows up when the student is ready, and I was like, I wanted what he had. I wanted it, and he
Yeah.
spoke direct to me. He didn't take my SHIT. He spoke direct to me, and I needed it. I needed that. My old man was the same way, but like he was my old man. Like now I was ready to listen to another man. And that was the way he spoke to me. And that was where I started to build that foundation of facing my problems instead of running it. Because you said it before, man, the world is selling you on it's okay to be overweight and it's okay to be out of shape. Well, if you're out of shape and overweight, it bleeds onto all your life. Like you're
Yes.
not waking up, you're being sloppy on how you live your life. Your business, like you said, is probably sloppy. Your closet is probably sloppy. Like my office is clean, my truck is clean. It all goes hand in hand when we start to build the foundation of discipline. It sprouts and it grows, and it literally takes your whole life and it makes it better. That's where, like, being in shape, it's not about vanity. Everybody wants to be in shape. It's more about, like Jocko Willink says, discipline equals freedom.
Yes.
So when you feel the liberation of being free, it's an amazing feeling in it, and that's what's radically changed for me is discipline. Like, I'm not the most talented, but in 13 years of sobriety, brother, I say this like proudly, you will not out discipline me. If I say
Yes.
I'm going to do it, you better damn well believe I'm going to do it. Why? Because I've tapped into the empowerment of
Yes.
saying no. If I go to a restaurant and everybody's eating like cake and stuff, it's not about cake. That's rad. Enjoy it. But I've said I'm not going to eat that stuff because I have goals. And when you say you're going to do something and you do it, you get empowered. Like people
Yes.
don't haven't tapped into that. Like you want to feel empowered, keep your word. It's not about
Yes.
eating cake. It's about if you say you're not going to eat cake, then don't eat cake because 9 out of 10 people fold. You
Yeah.
follow me? You know what I mean?
Oh
And like
yeah.
that's the empowerment. I mean, that's what people don't get. I mean, this is people that I sponsor in AA, and now the guys that I work with in regards to nutrition. That's what I try to implant in their heads. It's not about the cake in this. It's about writing down your goals and then keeping your word. It's not just having a goal. Like if you look right here, I have my goals and I have different quotes and stuff like that. You need, first off, most men don't even have a goal. What's your goal? Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know. How are you going to achieve your goal if you don't even know what your goal is, for one? So now you get your goal. Okay, so here's my goal. Now we have to write the roadmap on how to achieve your goal. You can
Right.
fine tune the roadmap, but if you want to get to In and Out in San Francisco, if you don't have the roadmap on how to get there, you might get there eventually, but if you know how to get there, you're gonna get there quicker. And that's what I try to work on is setting goals. There's power to pen to paper. I read a study years ago that has stuck with me about all the most successful people in the world. There was one common denominator that they all lived by, almost every one of them, which was they wrote down their goals and they kept them in some form of eyesight, or read them nightly, or there was some form of, but they all wrote down their goals. And so I started implementing that years ago. And if anybody's watching this that doesn't do that, write down your goals. And there is power to pen to paper. You writing it down and you're putting it into the universe, so to speak. And there's power to that. And then
Yes.
you make it be
Yeah.
power.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of men that I'll help, and they usually call or text and just say, "Jeremy, I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling motivated lately. You know, I'm lacking that motivation. How can I get motivated?" And I mean, our connection has been phenomenal as we developed our friendship, and I know what you're already going to say, but I want you to say, if I call you up and say, I'm not feeling motivated today, I tell everyone that it's motivation is an emotion. It's going to come and go. But the best thing you can do for motivation is the daily disciplines. How would you answer that?
Yeah, all success is built upon all the things we don't want to do, but we do them anyway.
I love it.
I mean,
Yep.
period. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what success. I mean, that's worked for me in business. That's worked for me in sobriety. And that definitely works for me in nutrition. I don't want to go to the gym every day. I do it. It's non-negotiable, man. I mean, I've
Yeah.
I've calloused my mind to like not really pay attention to that stuff anymore. It comes easier as time. If you're a guy that's been sitting on the couch and you've been drinking beer and eating crap, your brain's not calloused to that degree yet, but it can be.
Hmm.
And you do it a little bit. I call it little wins, stacking little wins, stacking little wins. Just do it today. Just get up today. No, you're
Yeah.
not going to want to do it, but I'll tell you what, I promise you, you will feel like $1,000,000 as you're walking out of the gym. I
Yeah.
promise you. And then you
Yeah.
do it tomorrow. And then you do it tomorrow. You won't see the fruits of your labor in 3 days, but you can be a whole different person in 3 months by just
Yes.
doing it daily. You know what I
That's
mean?
a,
And you
that's,
start to fine tune that
yeah.
discipline, and then you start to feel what it's like to keep your word, like we said. And
Yes.
then on the times when your little brain goes, "You're tired, just stay
Yeah.
home." You swash that guy, and you get to the gym, and you walk out, and you're just like, "Yeah," you know what I mean? I mean, it's like I said, you just have to make success is built upon all things you don't want to do, but you do it anyway. So do it
Yeah.
anyway. The easiest way to
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah,
Period.
when I talk to my friends that I'm helping, I always tell them, JD, I'm like, hey, let's make a promise to yourself and to your family who you will become.
Sure.
And then let's look at it doing it today.
Period.
Now, let me ask you a question. If you did this today, what you wrote down on a piece of paper, can you do it again tomorrow? And then can you do it again the next day? And I love that we are in alignment with this 90-day plan. That's the way I made my millions. That's the way I've been able to transform my body. I didn't look at it and say, well, this week I'm going to do a little bit of workout. This next week I'm going to try a little bit of workouts again. I'm going
Yeah.
to try to do, no, I said for 90 days, I'm going at it as hard as I can. This is my financial goals. This is my health goals. This is my relationship goals. This is everything that I want to accomplish. I love what your sponsor told you. Just go be a man. One of the things that I try to teach is embrace, not escape.
Period.
I see so many men that's why they choose the drugs, they choose the alcohol. I would say 75% of the men over 40 that I work with, pretty much every one of them have a vice.
Sure.
And what I found, I don't know what yours is, it's either sugar, which it might be breads, but it's both mainly sugar,
Period.
or it's alcohol.
Yeah.
And how do you coach with those men that come to you and say, hey, here's my weakness. Here's the problems I'm dealing with. Because most people, they don't want to look like that sponsor told you. They don't want to say, go be a man and take care of this issue. They want to say, you know what? It's okay to have a glass of wine, a beer, or it's
Yeah.
vodka, whatever, because that's what they're trying to do. Do you agree? Men are trying to escape
Yeah.
versus embrace who they
Yeah.
need to be as a man.
It manifests in all kinds of different ways. For some men, it's eating. For some men, it's drinking. Some men, it's drugs. For some men, it's porn. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It manifests in all kinds of different ways. And what is yielded when we succumb to that is discontentment,
Yeah.
anxiety, frustration, anger. Why? Because we have fallen away from God's will. we're
Right.
falling like a wake. It's like a boat wake. Say a boat is driving, and then you don't even see it happening. You get the wake, and then all of a sudden you're way out here, and you're like, dude, why am I so pissed off right now? Well, you've fallen out of line with God's will, and that yields discontentment. How do we fix it? We do it anyway. We
Yeah.
do it anyway. So, my program, I start with food. I believe food is 90% of it, because I have seen if you can fix that, that builds the foundation of a new you. If you're eating sugary, crappy foods, you're going to feel like crap. And
Right.
that's just why men feel sluggish, and they're, you know what I mean? And you feel like crap. So if you focus on single ingredient foods, that's where we start. And we take out the crap food. So then you start getting higher energy, and you start feeling better when it comes to that. And then you kind of build upon it when it comes to that. But, yeah, man, it's men are running up a hill right now, and kind of swimming against the current, when all they got to do is just turn around and walk down the hill, man, and just make it easy. It doesn't need to be difficult. Just start with
Right.
food, and then fix that, and then the exercise becomes easier, and then this becomes easier. When you get the snowball of success spinning downhill, it's small at first, but when you start seeing fruits of the hard work that you put in, all of a sudden it builds. And like I said, you can be a new you in 3 months. You can be a radically new you in 3 months. I mean, what's 3 months? 1, 2, 3, done. Easy.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And that's what I tell the people I'm working with. That's when the motivation starts.
Sure.
When you take off your shirt in 90 days and you see a difference, and you feel a difference, and you see a difference in your relationships,
Yep.
that's when the motivation starts.
Sure.
I mean, it's not going to start with day one of you just saying, hey, I think I'm going to get jacked, or whatever the situation may be. Yeah. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible is in Acts, where it talks about rise up and go kill it and eat it.
Right.
I mean, I think there's three things there: rise, get out of bed early, like you and I,
Yep.
go kill, go slay the day, go get your meat, and
Yep.
not go to the grocery store and then eat it for
Right.
fuel. And that's something that has gotten away from our society today. It's
Yeah.
just, we run to the bakery, we grab this. I mean, it's amazing to me the
Everywhere.
amount of people go to Starbucks
Yep.
and get a big deal of sugar or caffeine, and then they grab whatever they have there. I've never purchased anything at Starbucks, honestly, but you're 100% right. If you can master the nutrition. So I know you have a special content that you provide to your people that use your services, but give us a few without going into too much detail, because I know a lot of my audience is going to reach out to you to hire you. Because I know my audience, they cannot deny this. There's a lot of unfit 40-year-old men that's on there. So I hope that they reach out to you. Give
Yep.
me a few dense foods that you recommend, and a few things without going too much into what you do on a personal coaching.
Yeah. Fat and protein for sure. I mean, I have, I believe in a keto type diet, not exactly a keto, how most people think it, but it's a ketogenic because you stay in ketosis. I don't believe we're supposed to run on glucose. I've done it both ways. So for me, it's that, and I mean, everybody's different. So everybody's body's going to be a little different. We're all science projects. So I've, through the years, have tried every diet you can think of. So I have a lot of experience with that stuff. And this is what works for me. If it's women, then, a lot of them aren't into the high fat stuff. And so we kind of approach it differently. But, just single ingredient foods is the easiest way to say it. Like if you walk around the grocery store, I don't know what the statistic was, but it's something like 90% of the food wasn't even there 15 years ago, or it's not even
Mm-hmm.
food. Even like if you look at the back of something, a lot of people don't even know this. Low fat is high sugar. In
Yeah.
1977, the sugar companies wanted to sell more sugar. How did they do that? They used a bogus study. This is easy to find. They used a bogus study, and they lobbied politicians, paid them off to use the study, saying that fat was causing heart disease and strokes and all that. And so overnight, our food industry changed. 1977, it flipped. They took out fat. They replaced it with what? They replaced it with sugar. Sugar is in everything. That's 40 years ago. Now, fast forward 40 years ago, sugar is in everything. Seed oils are in everything. Everything. So You have to know how to get around and maneuver around that. It's really not that hard. Once you kind of know. But I mean, the first thing I ask people is, well, tell me what you think a healthy diet is. And I'm not kidding you. People will say a banana and a blueberry muffin. No, that's not. Okay, so now I know where the basis of where we begin, because that's not healthy. You know what I mean? And
Right.
not knocking them. There's too much information out there. We just simplify stuff. We just simplify it. One single ingredient foods. Very, very
Yeah.
simple, you know?
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to go off what you said is we're the sum total of the five people that we hang out with the most. So choose wisely. I'm 47, and one thing, and specifically in the last few years, is my circle of friends has gotten a lot smaller. I used to think I had a lot of friends, but you really realize a lot. If you're hanging out with dudes that are drinking, not that drinking's wrong, but if they're not pushing you to grow, if they're not men who are starting businesses and good fathers and they're cheating on your wife, if you're hanging out with those guys because you've known them your whole life, you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
no shame in only surrounding yourself with the right people. And that, if I can pass on, that's been huge for me, specifically in the last few years. I only gonna want to be around people that, when my name's brought up in a poor manner, they either leave the conversation or they say something positive. That's the people I want in my corner. And that's the type of people that, when you start to succeed, they are cheering you on and they're pushing you to grow because they are growing and they're constantly moving upward, and you're working together. That iron sharpens iron, and
Yes.
you know what I mean. And if you're going backwards, they're going to pull you that way. So, if your listeners are listening, that's huge. If you're hanging out with people in the wrong crowd, it's time to cut that and only surround yourself with people that are pushing you to grow and want you to succeed.
100% agree, JD. I tell everyone going through that transformation in their life, I say, number one, you have to get rid of your old life to make room for the new life.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they want to have a new life, but they want to hold on to their old life.
Sure.
They want to hold on to those friends that they go to happy hour with, golfing with, all those things that you just mentioned. And you cannot bring in a new life until you get rid of the old life. And another thing that I've watched in my life, and I'm 48 now, is they say it's lonely at the top. Here's the way I look at it is in the beginning, you think you have a lot of friends. You start that transformation, getting rid of old life. In that middle time, you really have a lonely spot that you're in
Yeah.
because your new life really hasn't come into completion yet. And you haven't identified exactly what it is that you're doing, what you're accomplishing. But the beautiful part is once you get across that border and enter that new life, the friendships like mine and yours, like these other men that are so like-minded and understand they have a passion for impacting others,
Yep.
that's when it really starts to blossom. Because
Oh
I
yeah.
can jump on a phone call with you and say, hey, man, how about this situation? You can give me feedback, expect nothing in return, and we can really start becoming that person that God intended us to be.
Oh man, it's absolutely vital. I mean, I talk to a lot of men, and they don't even have an outlet of other men. I mean, my choice is my wife is going to be protected. I don't unload any type of stress onto my bride. It's just my way. I get ridiculed when I say that. You're supposed to talk to everything about your wife. Well, I choose to let her not stress. Like, if there's anything that I have stress, I put it onto men that I trust, and
Absolutely.
we sort through that together. I've posted something like that and got all kinds of flack for it. That's what I feel, man. Like, you don't have to agree with it, but that's how I
100%
feel.
agree.
My wife will be protected at all costs. Even that means her. I like her to just be there for my boys. And other
Yep.
than that, yeah, it's important, man, to be around the right people and the people that are going to grow. And I want to say it again because it's important. If you're not hanging out with men who are starting businesses and doing those types of productive things and helping other men, because when you fix yourself, that's not the objective. That's where people fall short. They have a problem and then they fix it and then they stop.
Right.
The beauty is to turn around and help other people fix the problem that you just fixed. And that's when God puts his hand on it. And that's the beauty. You want to feel blessed. You want to get some tangible blessings too. God will bless you. Help other people.
Yep. Yep. I call it servant leadership. You and I
Yeah.
talked about it the other day. Only way to true happiness, man. We have so many men searching for happiness, as you mentioned, in porn, drugs, alcohol, even money, and I'm a big money motivated guy, just like yourself,
Yeah,
but they're chasing money for the wrong reasons. They need to be chasing the money for what it will make them as a person, but
absolutely.
they need to do it with the right values of how can I bring service to others? Because
Sure.
that's the only way to true happiness.
Yeah, and then that's a thing that a lot of Christians think you're not supposed to have money. Like, listen, man, like, I
Yeah.
prefer to have a big bank account over a small one.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
my God loves me, man. Like, God loves me. He wants me to be successful, but
Right.
I put in the work. I wake up before, and then I try to get better at everything that I do. So I do the work, and then I'm blessed for that. So again, there's just a lot of Christians that think you're not supposed to have money. I believe that's not wrong. I believe God wants us to have
Oh
success.
yeah. Oh yeah. I
We've been
grew up in
blessed,
a real strict
you know?
Christian home, and I was taught that the money was the root of all evil, and that's not how the scripture says it.
Yep,
you know,
that's true.
and what makes the church? I've got two brothers that are preachers. What makes that church go is money.
Period.
What I mean, what makes the special projects for the homeless? What makes all these different things is finances. So
Sure.
find something at your completion of life is going to be about impacting others. Let the money come in and do good service with it.
Yeah, and think about what do most people fight about? Relationships, money.
Yeah,
So
money.
money doesn't yield happiness by any means,
No.
but it does yield less fights because what do most husband and wife fight about is money. So if you don't have the stress that where's the next, how are we going to pay these bills, right? It does take some of the stress off that. And, like, again, like I like to say yes to my wife if she wants something pretty. I've worked hard for it. So go ahead and get that, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels good to do that.
Right. Right. Men standing up, JD. I know we're going to come to conclusion here of this podcast. I tell you, this won't be the last time that I have you on with my
I enjoyed it.
audience. I've enjoyed every minute of today's podcast, but I don't know if you have any closing statements about what message you could really just say to these men to grab their attention about standing up and not being afraid of your core values and the man you want to become. And then also, if you have not already, guys on the audience, go follow JD Denham on Instagram. It's JD underscore Denham, DENHAM underscore fit. And let them know again, what kind of service you can bring value to their life if they're really looking for change, and what's the best way to get in touch with you.
Yeah, my goal is to get men moving. My goal is to tap into men who have kind of given up on themselves, but to light a fire in their hearts to rise back up, to set the example for their children. The where I started it was I wanted to get men off the couch and healthier so they could spend more time with their children because that's where the void is. There's men that are not being fatherly and teaching their sons and their daughters to be people of integrity. So you need to be fit to be able to have the energy to do that. So that's where that was the genesis of my channel. So my suggestion is just do it. Get up and start. You just get moving. Like my channel has all recordings of me doing the workouts. You just have to follow it. That's that simple. And that's the goal. So inside of every man is a warrior, and you just need to tap into that warrior spirit. It's there because God put it there. God made you a warrior. So tap into that warrior spirit and you can thrive at any age.
Awesome. What is the best way for them to reach out to you? Instagram, and go ahead and
Yeah,
give me that
Instagram's great.
handle
Yeah,
again.
my cell phone's on my Instagram, and shoot me a DM. And I would love to just even have a conversation, man. Like you and I, Jeremy, I love this stuff. I love it. So you and I could tell we're cut from the same cloth, as I said.
Absolutely, JD. Well, men standing up, share this episode with a friend or family member. Guys, I'm telling you, our society today is definitely a soft society. Our leadership issues in the country, all these different things, political, you might say, how can I make a difference? It starts with you. Become a man that stands up for his core values, his beliefs, and take the responsibility for that family, the ones that you have in your life. Be that example. The ones around you, be that example. Men standing up. Thank you for everything, JD. And I
Yeah,
cannot wait to have you back on to this audience of Hard Truth Podcast.
appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Let's go.